Welcome to Data Central Podcast, where we talk to the people sharing the future of security, privacy, and AI governance. Our today's guest is Sumit Arora, co-founder and CEO of Inference Labs, a fast-growing AI and data outsourcing firm that helps companies build Gen AI applications with speed and cost efficiency. In this conversation, we are going beyond the buzzwords. We explore how startups navigating the AI boom and also building serious security and compliance muscles because trust is not optional anymore. From ISO 27001 implementation to responsible AI practices, Sumit walks us through what it really takes to innovate without cutting corners. Thank you for joining us, Sumit.
My pleasure, and I'm happy to contribute. I hope it helps.
So today's CISOs and compliance leaders are facing an AI-driven surge, be it in threats or regulatory pressure, or be it tech complexity. So from your vantage point, what are the top risks or shifts they simply cannot afford to ignore right now?
See, one of the biggest shifts is how quickly AI-powered threats are evolving. For example, phishing, impersonation, and deepfake style attacks, which is becoming far more convincing and common. Alongside that, regulatory frameworks like the EU AI Act or the DP India Act are raising the bar for compliance. Finally, the supply chain remains a weak link, and many overlook the risk involved with third-party AI vendors, which we need to be very wary of.
Absolutely. So that's such a powerful observation, especially about the supply chain. So if you ask me, it's often the quietest risk, but can have the loudest impact when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about moving fast and breaking things in AI. But for regulated sector, trust is absolutely non-negotiable. So how are you ensuring security and compliance aren't afterthoughts as you build AI applications?
We embed security reviews at every major development milestone. We also run our privacy impact assessments before training any models. More importantly, our teams are trained to treat data as a responsibility and not just as an asset. So security isn't bolted on at the end; it's baked in from day one. So I think that's what we ensure that compliances are well thought of for AI applications.
So Sumit, what made you decide that it was time to adopt a formal security framework like ISO 27001? And how did that align with your growth journey?
See, as an organization, we deal with a lot of enterprise clients. And at some point in time, we started facing reviews from our enterprise client, and we realized that this ad controls aren't going to cut it out for us. The option in front of us was standardization like ISO 27001, which gave us not only structure but credibility as well. It showed our client that we take their data very seriously, and internally it helps us to scale securely.
Absolutely. So that resonates. So many teams wait until security becomes a blocker. But what you did was absolutely amazing. You went one step ahead and you made it a business enabler. So being in this industry, I'm aware that surprises are part of every implementation. So I'm curious to know what parts of the ISO journey caught you off guard, whether it was culture, documentation, or something else.
Hmm. Honestly speaking, the cultural shift was the toughest one. Convincing team that security was a responsibility and not just from the tech side, but it was a long process. Also, the level of detail needed in documentation was something that we really underestimated.
I agree. Documentation and mindset change are the two biggest understatements in most ISO calls. So, as I understand from your team, you work with GRC tools for compliance. What do they genuinely simplify and what still needed hands-on effort or say human leadership?
See, the GRC tools definitely help us to automate evidence collection, task tracking, policy distribution. But when it comes to interpreting risk, adapting controls, and building awareness across the teams, You still need real people and tools help, but definitely they can't replace the context or the leadership behind driving this change within the organization.
Exactly. So tools help you scale, but the judgment still requires people. So they make the real difference. So with data center is built on this conviction that security isn't just a checkbox, it's a mindset. So I want to know from you what worked or what didn't in getting the buy-in from teams and embedding security into your daily operations.
We started with awareness why security matters to every individual role within the organization. Then we simplified this process that is through embedding controls into tools that is already being used. We also shared real examples of what can go wrong, which made the risk feel tangible to the roles that within the organization.
Okay, so that's such a smart approach. Context, convenience, and consequence. All three help build buy-in. With the rise of AI governance frameworks worldwide, the pressure to develop AI responsibly with transparency, fairness, and accountability is intensifying day after day. So, how are you embedding these principles in your design and development process?
Mhm. See, we start with responsible AI guidelines as a process, which clearly states how models are used and what's out of the scope. I think that's a very important aspect around it. We also conduct bias reviews and maintain explainability logs to help clients understand how models behave. It's an evolving area, but definitely the structure uh, helps a lot in explaining to the clients.
Love that. So, responsible AI isn't just ethical, it is strategic. And especially with new AI regulations coming fast. Building Gen AI solution requires large data sets, so sometimes sensitive ones. How do you handle privacy and data protection during model training?
Mhm. See, we anonymize the data wherever possible. Our data access is strictly role-based, and every set is run through risk assessment before being used. And for client data, we have binding data processing terms and deletion protocols post-training. So we ensure that the protocols are very strictly adhered to within our organization, especially when it comes to client products.
So that's the kind of discipline that earns trust, especially in a world where one mistake can cost reputation and compliance risk.
Absolutely.
So, Sumit, today startups often move fast. So, security can feel like slowing things down. So, how do you maintain velocity while meeting regulatory and client security expectations?
So to answer your question, we work in sprints and with a security checkpoint built into every sprint review. This helps us to reduce and address the risk early without losing the momentum within the products. Also, our devs have very clear security guidelines, so they don't need to stop and ask everyone.
So, what I understand is security is part of the sprint, not separate from it. Love that. So, Sumit, can you share a moment in your compliance or AI journey where things didn't go as planned and how you turned it around?
Yeah, one example that really comes into my mind is when we're building an application for one of our clients, there were certain breakages in integration of multiple tools, and that flagged off the risk involved. And having this data security structure in place really help our team to understand how important it is to ensure that every bits and pieces of the process is well integrated to ensure that there is no scores for data leakage or data privacy issues. I think this was one of the biggest learning, and the team really understood the value that these standard protocols that bring on the table. I think this was one of the biggest challenges, and I think there was a great learning in the team as well.
Amazing, Sumit. So, thanks for sharing this insight with us. So, going beyond controls and tools, have you seen signs that security is becoming part of your team's culture? What do you think really made the difference?
Yeah. See, one sign is when your team started flagging potential risk without being prompted. I think it's a great success point in my mind. And that proactive behavior showed us that security has become part of the thinking. Regular recognition, feedback loops helps a lot in achieving this.
Great. So that's when you know you've made real progress. When people lead security and not just for work. Last but not the least, looking back at everything security, AI, compliance what advice you wish you had when you
Hmm.
first started this incredible journey?
Hmm. I would recommend that you start early than you could even think of. And security and compliances aren't just checklists today. It's a part of culture that you need to build within your organization. And definitely do not wait till a breach or a client demand asks you to get serious about this. I think it's a must-have today in this ever-evolving and changing world. I think nothing can be said more than this. Are we living in a world where security becomes a prime criteria for running a business?
Perfect closing advice. So proactive culture beats reactive scramble every single time. Sumit, this has been such a thought provoking and a grounded conversation. So, from ISO journeys to responsible AI, you've given our listeners both strategic insights and real world lessons they can act upon. Thanks again for joining us on this show.
My pleasure, and happy to contribute. I hope it helps.
Thank you so much. Whether you are just starting your GRC journey or looking to sharpen your strategies, at Data Sentry, we're all about empowering businesses to navigate the complexities of data security and compliance with confidence.